Hello and welcome. This is your host, Olivia Brown with wjlive, and this is Abby Liebing, my friend from the newsroom.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We got a lot of great topics, including one of a story of a very brave 22-year-old man who recently saved many lives in Indiana by pulling out a gun to save people really quickly when there was a gunman. So this is going to talk about why armed citizens are so important and everything that has been going on with this story. And we've got a few new developments that were not there previously. Here is a clip from a local news station that talks about the guy that saved everyone.
If I had a medal, I'd like to pin that on him because I believe he's a true hero. And he had seconds to think about it, and where it might have been minutes before the police got there and might have been more people killed.
So this was to stop a mass shooting, and it's so amazing that we have brave people out here like Mr. Dickens that was able to do this.
Yeah, what's incredible is just his time to react.
Yes.
And that in just a matter of seconds, he was able to stop the shooter, which is very impressive. Seeing that he doesn't have any sort of military or police background or anything like that, but according to reports, he was able to safely signal to people for them to get out of the mall, and then took down the shooter just right away, which is really impressive, and goes to show why it's important that if you're going to own a gun, you need to be educated in how to use it.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
not a toy, it's a tool. And I think that he made a great point of that and, became a local hero.
Yeah, definitely. And we're so thankful to him for doing that. And it's interesting to see recently, we've been seeing this great poll that just came out on how people actually feel more protected from armed citizens than they do from actual law enforcement. Here's a very interesting graphic from it. This shows all the numbers on how people feel protection during mass shootings and confidence to stop mass shootings. They overwhelmingly rely more on armed citizens, the everyday person coming in and helping out, just like Mr. Dickens did.
Which makes total sense, because if you're in a moment of a mass shooting, the police are very effective, but it takes time for them to show up. Whereas
exactly.
if I'm some random person at the scene of the crime and I know how to use a firearm, going to use it, and
exactly,
and that's going to be the most helpful thing in the situation.
Exactly. And they say he did it in about 15 seconds, which is amazing, especially since you said he was not trained by the Army. He just knew how to use a gun, and that's why it's so important that we continue having our Second Amendment rights, because we do need to be protected. That is the ultimate goal, and you're actually able to stop mass shootings with guns because of this. And the statistic is that about 90% of mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. And so that's why they're happening, and it's so important that we have that.
Right. Yeah, there's the old cliche of, people aren't really going to normally pull out guns in the middle of, farmland ranch, Texas, because they know, if I'm going to shoot up somewhere, it's not going to be a small town where I'm pretty sure everyone's carrying, because I'm going to get myself shot. And so, you're going to go to a mall like this kid did in Indiana, where he's like, people might not be carrying guns. You never know. But yeah, having citizens armed, and this is not, it's not like, every citizen should be armed and walking around ready to take down every mass shooter.
Yes.
It's not lurking around. I don't want people to live in fear, being like, mass shootings are lurking around the corner every time I walk into a mall or a grocery store. But it is common sense, and that's what the Second Amendment is there for. I always call it a common sense amendment.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah, it's just it is there for protection and for dire circumstances like this, when you're like, guess what? It is useful to have a firearm and know how to use it.
It is. And we need to be paying attention to stories like this and staying on topic with the rights that really matter. such as gun rights, being able to protect yourself, and not paying attention to Democrat shenanigans that have been going on lately. AOC, she pulled a publicity stunt just yesterday, and it did not go quite the way she planned it. In fact, it backfired on her because she was faking being arrested. Let's show this video. Wow. I can't believe that.
I've watched that clip like 10 times already today, and it still makes me laugh. It's still funny that she's doing the little fake handcuffs behind her back, even though there's no handcuffs.
Yeah.
The policeman is like barely even like grabbing her arm to kind of escort her away.
Yeah.
It's as peaceful as can be.
It's a publicity stunt, and it makes me wonder. So this is totally fake. She is faking that she is being arrested to prove a point and further the Democrat agenda that she has. This was to bring attention to, quote, abortion rights in front of the Supreme Court. And so she was making this big scene to further that agenda, but it makes you question, what else are they faking? Stunts like this.
Faking and also not filling in the full backstory.
Exactly.
I looked just a little bit into, because I knew that there were demonstrations going on in front of the Supreme Court. There have been pretty much continuously. And the DC police had actually warned people, because the street right in between the Supreme Court and then the entrance to the Capitol, it's a busy traffic street. And people kept going onto the street trying to block traffic. And the DC police issued several warnings. It wasn't like they were just beating people down and taking them off the streets. They'd issued warnings. They're like, you can't block traffic. This isn't safe for anyone. Stop.
Yeah.
And warned, and then finally we're like, we will arrest people if you keep going into traffic. We're going to arrest you for your own safety.
Yeah. Common sense.
And AOC and Ilhan Omar and like 16 other Congress men and women show up at this protest, and they're acting like, it's like that they were being arrested for a civil rights movement back in the 1960s. Like, look at us brave heroes being arrested and taken away. And that's just not the case. The police were just like, how about you don't stand in the middle of traffic?
Yeah. And did you see that she actually highlighted this in a fundraising email recently? Just trying to make money off of, look at this, what I'm doing. All this grandstanding makes me nauseous.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so she's trying to fundraise off of it now and placate to all of her Democrat donors to say, this is what I'm doing. So how impactful is that really?
Oh, impactful to the right audience. That's the fun of it all, is that you can kind of laugh at her because you're like, well, this is dumb. And if you actually know what was going on behind the situation, you're like, that's not a great thing to fundraise with. But if you're someone who only pays attention to, minimalized news sources, and you happen to support AOC, you're like, look at that brave woman. She's taking her moment in the spotlight. And AOC is terrible, but kudos to her for being the drama queen that she is and taking the publicity stunt when she can get it. Who wouldn't?
I guess that's true. She's very good at garnering attention.
Exactly.
And she's also known as being the Queen of Green, which recently we saw that General Motors, actually, they are leaving the United States to now manufacture their new electric car in Mexico. Let's look at this great tweet that someone put out. So you can see here, Joanna Kreider says, wow, and POTUS snubbed Elon Musk and Tesla to put GM on a pedestal. So much for American jobs. And it shows the news that they are going to produce those 2024 Chevrolet Blazer electric vehicles there in Mexico. And it was hilarious how Elon Musk responded. He said, Teslas are the most made in USA vehicles. So props to him for actually sharing that. It was interesting to see. Was it only a couple months ago he moved from a Democrat state to a red state to manufacture, I believe.
Yeah, so Tesla's been moving their operations into Texas. naturally, because Texas is, the new promised land for manufacturers and companies.
It is.
And I mean, thank God for Elon Musk always coming up with the good quips in response to everything going on.
Yes, it is. I'm actually very, very sad that it's not going through him buying Twitter.
Oh, I know. Oh man, that's just a whole other discussion. I feel sad about that too. Although I'm still not entirely convinced how this lawsuit will shake out. But
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That might be a discussion for another day. I don't know. It's a complicated lawsuit with good old Elon Musk and Twitter.
Yeah. And so it's embarrassing for Biden that they are moving, because he gave General Motors a special thank you at the State of the Union just a couple months ago for making their vehicles in the United States. Let's watch this clip.
The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America, the revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan. All told, 369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone.
So all that clapping, and they actually move it out. So much for those 11,000 jobs that Biden was talking about.
It's hilarious. And remember that Biden did not remember to note that GM in years past would have been gone. GM wouldn't exist if it hadn't been for government bailouts. And so here they are. Here's GM, the prospering car manufacturer that they are today, thanks to the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, time to pick up and go to Mexico.
I feel like that's a stab in the back to America, actually.
It's such a stab in the back. It's comical.
Yeah.
Everything with climate change, and honestly, everything we're talking about today with AOC and the Democrats, you can't help but laugh at it, because you're like, man, the full circle that people are running is just comical. Sad, but comical.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just seeing this everywhere with everything. People have been so hypocritical about climate change. It's hilarious to see the people that are the eco warriors supposed to be standing for it.
The virtue signaling.
They are the one hopping private planes and jetting off place to place and being the people that use the most emissions.
Right.
And it's interesting to see, the average American is not able to afford an electric car.
No, they're not.
Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons that whenever Democrats say their number one thing is, oh, you need to get an electric car, that's the reason.
Just get an EV.
Just get an EV, and that will solve gas prices. And I'm like, well, that won't help my bank account.
You're like, can't afford that. Most of us can't.
Can't afford the gas prices, also can't afford the electrical vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
There are some people that can afford a lot of things, though. And
they can afford everything.
And she's come under fire recently after posting a photo of her and her baby daddy. So Kylie Jenner just this last week, or I believe it was yesterday, posted a photo that had, is it yours or mine? Which should we take on Instagram?
Yeah,
and it
standing between their private jets, she and Travis Scott.
Exactly. And she has a $72 million private jet. He has another $70 million private jet. Both of them they bought in 2020, interestingly enough. It was probably during the pandemic that maybe things, I don't know if they were cheaper, but that's when they bought those. But they have been recently garnering so much attention for this. Here's this photo. She's with him and she says, "You want to take mine or yours?" This shows what a different world the Jenners are in than us.
The rich and the powerful.
Yes, definitely. And so what she's been doing and what she came under fire for is that she has been jetting around California, going on extremely short trips instead of driving. So look at this. And she was actually going 30 minutes in the wrong direction to fly instead of driving. So you can see here, she went from Van Nuys Airport all the way to Camarillo. It would have been a 39-minute drive. And you see she went backwards from where she was in Calabasas. And it was only a 12-minute flight.
That just monumental waste, because heaven forbid the billionaire 24-year-old spend 39 minutes in the car. I bet she probably couldn't bear it. She'd probably die, so she's got to take her private jet.
And it cost, they estimate, $1,600 to go on that 12-minute trip.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's insane.
In the midst of everyone screaming about climate change, there being a shortage and price hike in all fuels, especially jet fuel.
Yes.
And but this is just, goes to show, if you're in the upper echelon, you may live on this planet, but you do not live in the world of normal people.
That's so true. And so the showing off to her friends did not go the way that she planned. Let's show what the tweets that this was the response from people showing she is a full-time climate criminal. These jets should never be able to take off. The worst thing about this is that Van Nuys is 16 miles from Calabasas, where she lives. She went 26 miles in the opposite direction to take a flight. I just can't imagine doing that, and it's so funny.
It's so funny. I want to imagine doing that. I mean,
in my dreams,
I would love to be wealthy enough to go hop on a private jet. I think it'd just be so fun.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, she's totally wrong for doing it.
That's not the problem with it. The problem is not that she's spending her well-earned money. The problem is that
well-earned.
I mean, I personally would say well-earned money, because she built a beauty brand and has done that. Yes, she had the ability, beforehand to be put in the spotlight because of her parents.
Right.
But after that, she capitalized on it. And so that's when she made all this money, is off of her beauty brand, her swim brand, her baby brand. And it's interesting here to see on Kylie's website that we see that they are doing a new lighting system to reduce electrical consumption by 40%. They are, by the Eco Awards 2019, they are being awarded by them. It's interesting. They're saying, we are so eco-friendly. This is everything that we are doing. We are sustainable. She actually even testified in front of Congress on sustainability last year. And
why
then
is a 24-year-old doing that? Okay, I'm sorry.
I say props to her. I believe that
she's not a climate expert.
She's not a climate expert.
She doesn't even know how to drive herself or cut a cucumber.
True, but age should not be a reason not to go to Congress to testify or do something good.
I agree, but show me a 24-year-old climate expert.
That is very true. That's how we had the whole Greta problem.
Yes, exactly.
That we're seeing now.
Sorry, side note.
But yeah, the problem with Kylie doing this is not that she's spending her money. The problem is that she's saying, I'm this eco warrior, this is what I'm doing, and then actually going and doing this, actually going and, spreading so much more emissions than is necessary, when she could have just driven 39 minutes.
But why? Why do that when you have a jet?
Exactly. Do you know who else flies private planes?
A lot of people.
A lot of people, but
a lot of politicians fly private jets or use gas guzzling cars to go to climate friendly events.
That is true. However, we just had last night was the All-Star game for Major League Basketball. And we had a hilarious clip from David Ortiz. And what he shared, he was hosting last night. And it was hilarious to see him talking to all the different baseball players. And
Yeah.
this topic of private planes actually came up during it.
Yes, good old Big Papi doing his normal self, just flaunting the world of pro sports players. Again, it's all the upper echelon of society. Kudos to them.
It's
They
true.
have the money, they have the time, they have the resources, so they're going to fly private jets around. And good old Big Papi, he loves highlighting it in just his comical ways.
Exactly. And we've been thinking about maybe doing a sports show. We'd love to hear if you guys think that we should do more sports, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think we should do more sports. Sports are important.
Exactly. We were talking sports a little bit this morning. I want to hear, what is your favorite team?
In what league or sport?
Let's go with baseball, because we're about to show an awesome baseball clip.
I am sadly, but always a Cincinnati Reds fan, because I grew up in Cincinnati. It is a heartbreaking thing to be a Cincinnati Reds fan for the past, 25 years, because they're just so awful. But they're my home team. I bleed for the Cincinnati Reds. I will live and die no matter how terrible they are. And they are the worst team in baseball this year.
Oh,
Very, very bad.
ouch, ouch. So I'm a Diamondbacks girl.
Okay.
And so
They're also not doing great this year.
yeah,
But-
but the game I went to recently, they won. So
There
that's
you
what
go.
matters.
So you're good luck to the Diamondbacks. You're good juju for them.
Exactly. Let's play this clip from Big Papi.
You flying private?
Yeah,
You know it. You flying private?
yeah.
You know it.
You do know it. If you are rich, you're flying private.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Last night was actually one of the highlights to watching it. It was an overall kind of boring.
It was a pretty slow game.
It was a slow game.
There
There
was-
was a few
yeah.
interesting things.
There was
but-
good pitching, but per usual at the All-Star game, it's really good pitching and not very great hitting.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We are here every Monday and Wednesday. We appreciate you taking the time to learn about, brave people that are helping us save from mass shootings, everything that these hypocritical celebrities are doing. It's important that we are talking about these issues, and we appreciate you tuning in with us. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.